Imagine being forced to watch your family die while you're completely powerless to stop it. Now imagine the justice system making a deal with the man who did it, not for justice, for convenience. What would you do? Would you move on? Or would you design something so precise, so patient, that the entire system collapses from the inside? Tonight, we're looking at a story where prison wasn't punishment. It was strategy. At the center of this story are two men who represent opposing philosophies. One is a highly successful prosecutor. He is polished, ambitious, respected. He believes the justice system works, even if it requires negotiation. To him, a guaranteed conviction is better than risking total failure in court. Results matter more than ideals. The other man is an engineer, analytical, precise. He understands structure in a way most people never will. He knows that every system, no matter how powerful, has weak points. And once you understand those weak points, you can control outcomes. Their lives collide after a brutal home invasion. Two criminals break into a house at night. A husband is restrained and forced to watch as his wife and young daughter are murdered. He survives physically, but something inside him fractures beyond repair. The killers are apprehended quickly. Evidence is strong. The case appears solid. But instead of taking the risk of a full trial, the prosecutor offers a plea bargain. One of the murderers agrees to testify and receives a drastically reduced sentence. On paper, it's efficient. In the courtroom, it's strategic. To the grieving husband, it's betrayal. Years pass. Outwardly, life appears to stabilize. Careers advance. Files are archived. The system moves forward. But beneath the surface, something is being constructed with extraordinary patience. The man who benefited from the plea deal is suddenly abducted. What follows is not impulsive violence. It is engineered suffering. The execution is methodical, slow, deliberate. Every detail suggests planning rather than rage. The grieving husband is arrested shortly after. He offers no resistance. In fact, he confesses almost immediately. There is no emotional breakdown, no outburst, just quiet control. Inside prison, he begins requesting small privileges, a better mattress, specific meals, access to legal materials. Guards and officials interpret this behavior as arrogance. They assume he is trying to maintain comfort. What they fail to recognize is positioning. Soon, individuals connected to the original case begin to die. A bomb detonates inside a vehicle. A judge involved in the plea arrangement is assassinated. A high-ranking legal official is killed in a calculated attack. Each death is symbolic. Each victim had a role in negotiating justice instead of delivering it. Security footage confirms the impossible. The mastermind never leaves a cell. He is monitored constantly, locked down, observed, yet the attacks continue. Investigators eventually uncover hidden tunnels beneath the prison infrastructure, access routes prepared years earlier, supply chains buried within the system itself. The scale of preparation is staggering. This was never spontaneous revenge. This was architecture. The prison was not confinement. It was central positioning within the system he wanted to challenge. From inside, he could orchestrate consequences while appearing contained. The prosecutor begins to feel pressure from every direction. Media scrutiny intensifies. Public fear escalates. Confidence in the justice system weakens. And then the engineer inside the cell makes his intention clear. He does not want escape. He does not want freedom. He wants demonstration. He believes that when justice becomes negotiation, it loses moral authority. If the system is willing to compromise with murderers, then the system itself deserves to experience instability. Every explosion is a message. Every death is a reminder. This is not chaos. It is ideological warfare. The prosecutor is forced to confront his own decisions. For years, he justified plea bargains as practical necessities. Trials are unpredictable. Convictions are never guaranteed. Efficiency protects the greater good, but now he sees the human cost of that efficiency. The engineer's philosophy is simple. True justice cannot be negotiated. Once compromise enters the equation, corruption follows. The city feels like it's under siege. Fear spreads faster than facts. Confidence in institutions begins to erode. And the most unsettling realization is this: the man orchestrating everything is calm. He anticipated every reaction. He studied the system long before he attacked it. Eventually, authorities pieced together enough evidence to understand the full scope of the operation: the tunnels, the long-term planning, the layered contingencies. The engineer has always been several steps ahead, but pressure forces the prosecutor to make a choice. For the first time, he abandons procedural purity. He stops relying on negotiation and policy. Instead, he adapts. He bends the very rules he once defended. To defeat a man who rejected compromise, he must compromise himself. A final explosive device is set in motion by the engineer. It is designed to deliver one last statement, one final demonstration that the system remains vulnerable. But quietly, without public announcement, the prosecutor intervenes. He manipulates the chain of events. The explosive device is redirected back into the prison cell. The engineer realizes the shift seconds before detonation. There is no panic, only recognition. He understands what has happened. The system has evolved. It mirrored his ruthlessness. It abandoned moral high ground to survive. The explosion ends a campaign. The violence stops. The city breathes again. But something has changed permanently, because now both men understand the same truth. The system only functions as long as people believe in it. So, who was right? The prosecutor, who believed compromise preserves order, or the engineer who believed compromise destroys justice? The engineer did not act randomly. He targeted hypocrisy. He attacked structural weakness. He forced accountability through destruction. But he also became the very thing he claimed to oppose. The prosecutor survived. The system survived. But survival came at a cost. To stop chaos, the system embraced tactics it once condemned. It bent its own standards. It justified manipulation in the name of stability. And that leaves an uncomfortable question. If justice requires compromise to function, is it still justice, or is it simply controlled power? The brilliance of this story is that it refuses to provide a simple answer. It doesn't tell you who is right. It forces you to choose. Was the engineer a monster, or was he the inevitable result of a flawed system? Because when institutions prioritize efficiency over morality, someone will eventually challenge them with absolute conviction. And that philosophical war between principle and pragmatism is what makes this psychological thriller unforgettable. This is Law-Abiding Citizen.